Hey guys, so today this video is going to be talking about how to more effectively manage your time in high school. So this is for a wide variety of audiences. You may be an 8th grader going into 9th grade next year, or you may just be in high school looking how to manage time better. So I'm going to answer both those questions. Let's start out with age, like 8th grade. You're going into high school for the first time. You will need to realize that in high school, everything changes. You have to manage your time a lot more effectively in order to get the grades you want and do well in the extracurriculars you want. You also have to realize that every extracurricular activity you get an add-on trades off with something. And that thing may be your ability to socialize and hang out with friends more, or it may be your ability to sleep more. But you should still pursue a lot of these activities, just be wise about the ones you pursue. Now, when it comes to a lot of activities like orchestra, band, student council, all these activities, they can be very good if you are passionate about them and take them to a very high level, i.e. you become president of the organization, you do things at the state, local, or regional level, etc., maybe even the national level, and you accomplish something through that organization. That gives your application a story when it comes to the college application process, and that's important. These organizations are also important for things like having friends and having a group of peers to be around, which should not be underestimated in terms of your high school career. So I don't dissuade you from pursuing these activities, but do realize that some of these activities, such as like band or orchestra, may take a lot of time and may require lots of practicing throughout the week, which, if you're not truly passionate about it, will not be worth it on your college application search, because those 2 or 3 hours are trading off with things like meaningful volunteering opportunities, starting a website online, learning more about programming or competition math in order to do well in those competitions. Now I'm going to be talking about other extracurricular activities you can do, such as like competition math or engineering or science clubs. Things like that are very good because when you participate in them, you can do well at a national, regional, local level and have something to have some achievement and some tangible accomplishment from it that compares you with people at a high level. Because if you're just doing an activity at the school level, it may seem like you're just a participant, not necessarily one who's competing very rigorously. So what does this mean? It may be better if your sole goal is to worry about getting into college. It may be better to focus your time on 1 or 2 extracurricular activities that may be very beneficial than it would be to spend it on several extracurricular activities that take a lot of time and take away from things like your schoolwork. The other thing to keep in mind with this thing about managing your time is who you surround yourself in high school with is very important to what you end up becoming like. What I mean by that is I often surround myself with very productive people who have done very well but also have a social life. And when I interact with these people, I pick up some of those traits and socialize more, but also am around people who are getting very high grades, often doing well in their standardized testing, and are trying very hard to get into good schools, which rubs off on me. Okay, so when you've done these things, I know a lot of kids going to like STANFORD, MIT, etc., who are playing video games right now and who do that a lot. And that's just because it's not necessarily that they're lazy, they're just very efficient in what activities they spend their time on, and they end up liking video games, so they do that in their free time. So a lot of these kids have done well in like coding competitions on a high level or math competitions on a high level. And once you've done well in those competitions, it adds a lot to your application. Whereas some other activities make it very hard to manage your time, such as if you're doing a sport, but you're not particularly good at the sport, it's probably not the best use of your time, contrary to popular belief, because you're doing the sport. The next thing is you always have to compare your activities from a value offered to the amount of time you have to put in. So things like schoolwork and doing well in your grades, if you have good grades and you have a good SAT score, you will be able to get into like 98% of the colleges you apply to, like in the country. There's only a few colleges, like maybe the top 20 schools on US News and World Reports or Ivy League schools, etc., which having good grades is not sufficient to get you in. But even to those schools, I know a lot of people who they've gotten good grades, they've gotten good SAT, and they've just done the right thing to do, which is like in their peer group, some kids are doing research things. They go, they meet a professor, they do an internship, maybe they publish a paper with a professor, which does not really take that long. It takes like maybe a few weeks in the summer, but it shows that they have other interests outside of school, and it makes them look very good. And if you master all of these things and master efficiently making your application look better, then you're able to have a lot more time to spend on other things. But I'm just going to talk about, suppose you're in high school already, what sorts of things can you do to more efficiently use your everyday life. So say you're already in a couple clubs, what should you do to maximize your time in those clubs, maximize your time outside of clubs? The first thing to keep in mind the amount of sleep you want to have. So it varies from person to person. For me, I'm a person who functions very best on about 8 hours of sleep. And if I cannot get 8 hours of sleep, then I will have to get 6 hours of sleep, because anywhere in between does not really work as well. So for me, it's generally like 12 at night to 6 in the morning, or around 10:30 to 6:30 if I have more time. So once I've kept that in mind, I plan everything in my schedule around that. Sometimes I may come home from school around 5 o'clock, and that would leave me with 5 hours to do all my work. And I've taken like all honors classes, 6 APs, 1 regular pre-AP class last year. So there's a lot to do and not necessarily much time. So it's important to prioritize and use weekends effectively. If you're an activity like me that meets almost every weekend, which I was in debate, and that took all of Friday, I'd like sleep 5 hours Friday night, and then pretty much all of Saturday until like 10 p.m. Then I'd be burnt out on Sunday. It's pretty hard to effectively use your time. But there's a few things I learned. One of them is using weekends effectively. It's really important that if you have a weekend, you're really rigorous about this, to maintain the same schedule on your weekend as you would on any other day. What that means is you come home 10 p.m. Saturday night from an activity. You hit the haystack right away and go to bed and try to wake up at your normal time, 6 a.m. This prevents your schedule from getting out of hand and allows you to have more time. Also, the amount of time in one day, a Sunday, is just so much time when you actually think about it. Because there's about 16 hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night that you can use. Some of them will be used with things like eating, like maybe 1 or 2 hours, and some of them will be used like a break. If you took an hour total of breaks, like 5 minutes here and there, and they added up, getting water, things like that. But there's just a massive amount of time that you can use to study, and just effectively using a Sunday alone can set you up for success in a week. Because for me at least, a lot of homework problems and assignments are assigned the previous week. So if I have a whole Sunday to work on all these activities, I can get a lot done. But this is way better if you have like Friday and Saturday are both completely free on one weekend. Because on those weekends, maybe there's an online assignment or a project that's due a few months in advance. You got to start them off Friday, and really like you get home from school maybe 3-4 o'clock. You work until 10 p.m. Saturday, wake up 6 a.m. You start working and just grinding. I'm very certain that there's no amount of work that will be hard for you to finish, so long as you're not overbooking yourself with too many other activities. Now, what else should you do? I like to use now this tip is not that great, and a lot of people will say it. It's kind of obvious. Sometimes I use my lunch times and stuff to work on assignments, but I don't always like to do that, because whenever I use my lunch time to do it, it takes away time I could spend with other people. And I think that socializing and getting better friendships can be as important, if not more important, because it gets you in the right mindset. Because I find myself personally, I'm the most productive when I've been doing lots of things, hanging out with friends, all that, then come home and I'm like, it's time to grind. There's something kind of depressing about just sitting in your room over and over and grinding, which means you should always be seeking out opportunities to make time to do things with other people, which is the next part of the time management thing. Your goal with the time management should not simply be to do well in all your things, get a good rank, good GPA, extracurriculars, all that. Your goal should be to do that while still maintaining a social life and still being able to sleep well. And the way I do that is I make time, maybe on a weekday, I have a few hours here and there that I can fit in, go hang out with someone, go to like a coffee or tea shop, go to a different restaurant you've wanted to try. If you live in a suburb of a big city, maybe you drive up to the big city and do something interesting in that big city. I can do this on weekends sometimes. Suppose I have a weekend all to myself, go hang out with some friends. Takes maybe like 2 to 4 hours total. And that's if you're really enjoying yourself and spending a lot of time. But yet the payoff for that is really big, because you have you're rejuvenated. It does wonders for your mental state, all that. The other thing is, even amidst this busy schedule, like 7 honors classes, 6 of which were AP last year, junior year, and still a rigorous course load all years in high school, I still managed to go to the gym several times a week. So the way I do that is you just have to have everything planned out, because it's not going to be as easy for you as other people who are not invested in many activities. So what you would do is you put your gym bag, you put water that you'll need, all that. You put it in your car or your parents' car if they're the one that drives you, and you basically just go straight from school or straight from wherever you have to be after school to the gym, and you go there for a certain amount of time, 1 or 2 hours, and then come home. Because I'm pretty sure you'll find that oftentimes when you get home after a long day, you just kind of sit around and laze around for a few hours. At least for me. Sometimes it's very tempting to go on the YouTube, go on the Reddit, go and just waste time somehow. But if you're not wasting that time and you're using it to like go to the gym or something, you decompress, you feel more rested and still charged to work as if you were goofing off, but you've achieved something out of it, which is you release endorphins, you feel better, you have something else to set your mind to and some other goal to set your mind to. You like maybe become more muscular or more fit depending on what your goals are in the gym, and it's overall beneficial. It also helps you sleep better. Like you can fall asleep more quickly when you lie down in bed, which can also save you a little bit of time and leave you more well charged. So now that we have all those things thought about, the most important thing going into high school is having a clear set of what do I want to achieve, and then realizing that you have so much time. Like one Saturday has so many hours in it, even one day. Like maybe you come home at 6 p.m. and you have to go to bed at 12 p.m. 6 hours is actually a lot of time if you're efficiently using it. This also means things like learning effectively in class. In class, you can learn a lot if you actually pay attention, but then just coming home, starting on the homework problems, having them printed out and ready to go, and then just grinding on them for a few hours, taking breaks when necessary, and the time will end up being a lot longer than you expect it to. The other key thing about this is whenever you want to work, you have to set time just to work, not to like socialize, social media, all that. You should limit those to like, maybe you have an hour a day where you check and use social media, or maybe after every 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break in order to like check up on social media, read your email, all that. This will still allow you to be focused in your activities and what you're doing and not goof off too much, but still be productive. Also, like I know you're watching these YouTube videos, but it's important for you to eventually start watching less of them, or at least designate a small amount of time to them when you need to use time to work. And then you'll find that even when you have a bunch of spare time, these tips will still come in handy because they allow you to use the time you're working more effectively and have even much more time to spend with friends, learning things about other people, etc. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you like it, hit a thumbs up and subscribe. If you notice, I'm playing a video game right now in this video, and I'm making these videos, which prove that I have extra time and prove that these tips have been successful and worked. So hit a thumbs up, hit a subscribe. I'm new to making YouTube videos, and I'll probably continue making YouTube videos only if I keep getting these subs and thumbs up. So thanks.